And you guys that have held your hand up, have you had much luck at all?
Had much luck?
Yeah.
Not particular.
Absolutely. 400 metres?
Yeah.
Yeah, 500. And okay, and 600. Not yet. Okay. Tonight we're going to teach you everything above. And how about just pearlies in about 120, 130 metres? You didn't have much luck, guys?
Oh, hit and miss.
Hit and miss. Okay. Yep. Okay, we'll sort you out on that one too. Oops, upside down. Sorry.
It's just a question. If you're going to video this and we get a link to it or something?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so it won't be published for another probably 3 or 4 days, but Sunday, the time we get it out there. But you can watch it anytime you want then. Yeah, for sure. And any questions, please just ask during the night as we go along. Okay, just wait for Stuart to get back close before we hook in. Sort of get a general feel. And the other thing is, how many people here are here for the jigging side of it in deep water? A couple of you are maybe? Yep. Okay. So just always remember your electrics jig as well, okay? So your electric reels have jig functions on most reels these days. I've got a couple of mates of mine that I fish with out there, and they jig from 80 metres outwards, even in the deep water, and they smack it. They do really, really well. Well, I'm working my guts out, and they're jigging next to me. I have to just push the button. There's a function in reel which we'll show you a bit later how to do it, sort of how to do it. Stewie's up now, good. So yeah, so we'll emphasise, go based on that. If there's 4 or 5 isn't a few you want interested, we'll probably put 80% of the effort into deep dropping, and then 20% into the jig side of it. And we did do a jigging seminar about a month ago or 2 months ago, so you can jump back on our YouTube and watch that anytime you want, because that's more specific on that subject. Okay, Stewie, this is Stuart. I'm Dougie. How you going, guys? Good, thanks for coming along. How many people here from outside the Gold Coast area, like say Brisbane? Okay, and how many of those people fish in only that area, Brisbane area?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you guys get down the coast, or can you get down the coast and fish at all?
Probably could.
Yeah, probably could.
Had an incentive.
Yeah, okay. The incentive is that Tweed Heads is very good fishing. But for you guys, I'd be going out probably through the bar in South Coast Station, going out to off Lookout, and you got better ground up your way than down our way.
Really?
We have good ground off Tweed and south, and we have good ground from Point Lookout north. In between, it's a bit of a desert.
Right.
There are some good spots, but not as good as there and there. Okay, but later we'll go through all the GPS marks, and I'll run you through what to do. So what we're going to do tonight, we're going to start in close, and this is where a lot of the jigging is involved in slow pitch jigging for pearlies, because pearl perch are very, very easy to catch on jigs if you want to have a crack at jigging. And most of you probably have a small overhead reel or a small spin reel around 5,000 or 8,000 size with 50-pound braid on, and that's all you need. So it's easy without using electrics to jig in that up to 120, 130 metres. Very productive. The problem is in a few drifts you're bagged out pretty quick. On pearl is only 4 per person, so pretty easy to get your bag limit. We tend not to keep them under about 45 or 50 centimetres, because we're always after the bigger ones, and they release really easy. So we get more time out of the day catching bigger fish and filling the escape bigger fish. But yeah, so pearl perch are really easy to catch. So if you don't mind, I'll start quickly there, and then I'll tell you about electric reel fishing for them as well. And then we'll work our way out. The next area will go is around about 220 to about 300 metres, which is like flame snapper, bar cod, still snapper and kingies, that sort of stuff out there as well. And all the usuals, which people don't believe you, but they're out there. They're everywhere. At about 300 metres, and over 300 metres, between say 350 and 550 is where we get bass, groper, bar cod, blue-eyed trevally. They start about 300, 320. And gemfish and stuff like that. It's a little bit different species, okay? So we'll start in close. Yeah, so we do a lot of that sort of fishing. So for those of you who don't know, on the 50 fathom reef, you have like, everyone fishes, stops at 50 fathoms, around 90 metres, so. They don't tend to go another 2 k's further, because once you get to the coastline's like that, and once you get out to 90 metres, it then changes about that angle. It goes down quite quick. And that's like the edge of our coastline or continental shelf. So, and then as you progress out further, it even gets more steeper, and then we get seamounts, and we get a lot of ruts and things along the bottom. So at that, when you get to like the 50 fathom reef, just put some emphasis and time into soundering around with about a 20 metre window zoomed on your bottom, and look between about 95 and 125, 130 metres. And that's where we get a lot of structure, a lot of gravel, and a lot of wireweed. And the pearlies love the wireweed. And the pearl perch you're catching closer in the 50 fathom reef. How many guys fish the 50 fathom reef? Most of you would, I would think, if you're here tonight. So the fish you're catching there, like you still get good pearlies there, but most of them are predominantly around that 32 to 42 centimetres maybe. Go down 2 Ks, you still get the odd little one, but most of them are around 45 to 60 centimetres, or 70 as well, 75 even. So they're a lot bigger, and it's only 2 more, 3 more Ks there. You can still see the boats here on the 50s. Hopefully they don't see you out there, but you can see them. And you just got to sort of sneak around them when you get to the spot. But that whole back ledge in that depth, you just zigzag. It's only about probably 2K east-west area between 95 and 125. And you just zoomed in, and you're just looking, as you're going down that edge, you're just looking for any little bump, just a little bump, okay? And then when you run then north-south along that and try and follow it, so turn around and go back the other way, so you're going east-west, you go north-south now. And all of a sudden, obviously it flattens out because you're in that same depth. And the wireweed becomes thick, and you'll see the fish in the wireweed. Pearlies aren't very active in fish shows. Sometimes they're out of the wireweed, but most of the time they're in amongst the wireweed. And you think there's no fish there, you drop down and wham bam, you're straight on, you know. And then they will sometimes come out of the wireweed and show up on your sounder. Okay.
Yeah, generally after a little bit, after you catch a few, they do rise up a bit.
They do rise a bit, yeah. They seem to come to sound, don't they? Yeah, you get them activated, alerted or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do a lot of slow pitch jigging. So Stephen, grab one of the rods that you use there, mate. So using like a very long, slow type of rod. Obviously, we're going to bait fish for them as well. And that's got that type of jig on, which is also quite good.
Yeah.
But Stu and I tend to want to use the ball type jigs, which has anyone used like the octo type jigs at all?
Yeah, like that top style.
They are just so productive, you know, like incredible.
You don't have to work them hard. You can fish them in the rod holder, but they work either way. Really.
Either way, yeah. So as I said, that type of system, or a little 5,000 spin reel, 30 to 50 pound braid, 6'6" or 6 foot rod, but quite soft on the tip. It needs to be quite soft. As this rod here is quite soft as well, but we'll actually use this out in 500 metres as well, believe it or not. Okay. But that's the type of action that you want. That actually takes up to about P4, I think, Stuart?
Yeah, I think they're about P4, P3.
Yeah, P3. Yeah. So that'll take up to about 60 pounds, that rod, in braid size. So you can give it as much as you want on 60 pound, it won't break, because theoretically it won't break. And that's what we're using. And the leader size we're using is around about 50 to 60 pounds, or 40 to 60 pounds. And jig size around 100 grams to 150 grams. Even the current, you need to learn to back up and work out which way the current's going in your drift. So always when you're drifting, this doesn't matter if you're in shallow water or deep water, you must understand. Does everyone stop and have a blind drift first? You all do that? You should all do it. Those of you who don't, please do it. So if that's your screen, and say that's your mark there, and you've got another mark here, another mark over here maybe, and you've got a couple of other marks around the place as well that you've accumulated. Always leave your track going. You want to see all your tracks from past, because when you go out there and the wind's blowing from that direction and the current's going that direction, you know exactly where your drift was last time. You know where you started, you know where you stopped, and you know where the fish were on that drift. And generally the fish are in the same location. If you don't tend to do that and you tend to have no track on, you know where your marks are, but you don't really remember what occurred last time you were out there. It's pretty hard to remember unless you're good. So my screen is like, looks like spaghetti, but I'll have like drifts like that. I'll go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down on those marks there. And then there'll be a different color track for maybe another time. And I'll have marks go where I go up and back, up and back, up and back on that one there. And there might even be, when it's blowing at west sea, I'm sort of going like this when there's no current, you know. So I sort of know which way to go on my drift. That there, from there to there might be 500 metres or a K. And I know, you know, those marks are about 300 metres apart. And so I start up here. I'll do my first drift away from it over there. I'll come up to about here somewhere. I'll just turn on my track. And then I'll see myself drifting. I'm sort of drifting in this direction here. And I think, okay, I'm going to go up around here. And I'll start my first drift here. And I should drift through those marks down to here. Sometimes I'll keep going a bit further because I may get fish, they may follow me out of the Y-weed, or I might get fish further on. And then I'll go back around, back up for another drift. And if I didn't get much that drift, this time I'll go over about 50 metres or 30 metres. I'll start here and I'll drift down, hopefully same scenario through there like that. And then I'll normally do a third drift and I might just go a little bit wider again. And then whichever the best was out of those three drifts in that sort of 100 metre pathway, in three drifts, will be where I'll concentrate. And it might be a slow drift, or I might be doing like 0.8. So it's taken me ages to get down here, but I've marked another fish on here, just there, and I might have marked another one here. So because it's so slow, my next drift, I'll come here, I'll go back up, okay, I smashed it in that area there. I'll only go up to about here, and I'll just drift this area here to here. Then I'll go back around again and go down again. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's how you should always work all your drifting when you're drifting out there. You're backing up as well. So sometimes you'll actually see yourself coming down, and then you'll see yourself, you'll move back up like this. The currents sort of take your lines too far back, whatever it might be. But as you back up, the little bit of wind, wherever it might be, might move you off target a little bit, then you'll start drifting that way again. So next time when you do it, come over this way a bit further, because you know you want to be on this line here. And when you do the back up again, you'll end up back on your target again. Does that make sense? And keep your drift shorter if you've got a little bit of movement sideways in it.
You mentioned back up there, look, I suppose to the president first, are we okay to ask questions during this?
Of course you are, yeah, of course.
So you mentioned the back up twice there.
Yes.
Is that to catch up in the line?
You catch up in your line. So the fish hate taut lines. They don't like it. So they like a bit of slack. So, and you'll know yourself, your line's taut, and then as soon as you back up and it goes like that, it goes down, boom, 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 you get bites straight away because it's free and movement.
Strange how that works, isn't it?
It's strange how it works, but to them, I think they're following it, they're swimming with it, they're doing like 2 knots trying to keep up to it. Then when it stops, which is when you're backing up, there's an opportunity to pounce on it. That's what they do. Well, that's how I think they do it, you know. Yeah.
Okay, so it works.
Yeah, well, it definitely works. So give it a go. But if you relate that to all your fishing, whether it be in 12 fathoms deep in 20 metres or out in 500 metres, it's the same scenario. Okay, but don't be scared to sometimes drift past that, you know, out to wherever it might be, because sometimes there are fish that you've never known about. You've always stuck in there, and done that area. But sometimes we might get a good fish on, we take photos or whatever, and then I'll look up at the screen, this is like alive, and I go, holy crap, get your lines back down there, you know. So we drop our lines back down, next minute, wham, bam, we're on. We've just marked a new market, a whole new drift area, you know. So don't just concentrate on the one patch all the time. You got to explore. Simple as that. But getting back to the jig technique, do you want to show me how you jig, Stewie? Stewie's actually quite good at doing this.
I keep it fairly, I actually use something a little bit lighter than this, in a spin version just for the pearly jigging, but I'm very slow, so I'll let it hit the bottom. Biggest thing is I've got multicolour line as well, so you always know where you're fishing. I'm always asking Dougie, how deep are they? Are they off the bottom? Are they right on the bottom? And you can actually, after a couple of drops, you know when you're going to get hit. So I let it down, and I just kind of do one big long lift, and then I slack line it down, and then just go like, I kind of slack line it down, and then on the lift again, I'll go crack, crack. So my thing is I'm making it look like a bit of a squid, like it'll kind of work up slowly, kind of fade off a bit, and then do a bit of a dart last second. And then you find that most of the time I always get them on the way up. I don't get them too many on the way down, with pearlies that is. But yeah. Dougie, your actions?
My technique's like similar to Stewie's, dropping it down, hit the bottom, just take up the slack, and I just do a slow lift and then take up the slack 1 turn or half a turn, and then just lift it again. I don't do much jerking like you do,
Yeah.
but we both load up, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It works for us. There are all different techniques to use, but it's not mechanical fast jigging like you do for kings. It's very different jigging.
Yeah.
But the kings will still take the slow jig, okay? But the pearlies won't take a fast jig, as snapper really catch on a fast jig. Catch a lot of snapper this way. And you get a small bark cod, and you get like mowong, get everything else that's in the area, in that same area.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think the biggest thing is when Dougie said before, you've got to use a soft rod. The main reason is, I'll pass one of them around, but look at the size of the hooks. They're so easy to rip out, and they always just get caught in the meaty parts around the mouth.
They're in
If
the
you
lip.
use a stiff rod, you're just going to rip them straight out. So don't fish a locked up drag or anything. It's pretty light-ish drag, firm but light.
With pearlies, especially in the electrics, you just cannot go fast with pearl perch. You've got big mouths, they spin the way up. Half the time that blade chops off the guy below him sometimes. You ever had that problem? I had a lot. And you got two lines next to it, goes a bit light, you go, oh my gosh. You wind up, it's just the lines cut below the pearly. Yeah, you just got to wind up slow, pump and wind every fish. On the electric, you need to just have it slow go. So wind it very slowly. How many people have got electrics, by the way? Quite a few of you have, yep. Okay, so you can still obviously hand bottom fish in that depth as well, no problems at all. When you get out to, we hand fish up to about, with bottom baits that I'm talking about, up to around 280 metres. After that, it's a bit of a mission, but you need electric.
A ridiculous question.
Go for it, Errol.
I'm just about to buy this electric reel.
Yes, correct.
Can it be used manually also?
Yeah, you can. You can. So if you run out of power or something, trust me, it's hard work because it's always got big fish on at that stage. But you can, yeah, 100%.
I've never owned one before. So
Yeah, no, it's fine, mate. Yeah, that, still same mechanical style. Yep.
And with the mechanical jigging, you're only fishing the bottom 20 metres, 25 metres?
Yes, correct. So, like, pearlies are they're right amongst the wireweed. The wireweed may be up to about 2 or 3 metres long, but generally it's only about 1.5 metres, 2 metres. And I have seen them up to about maybe 15 or 20 metres off the bottom. I've wound up to that area and tried to just drag my baits through that area, but I can't catch them. I put it on the bottom, it goes slack, they jump on it, they follow it down. Jigging, different scenarios. So when you're jigging and you slowly bring it up through the field, they'll attack it. Because what happens is when, as Stuart said, when you drop the rod and it flutters back down, that's when they nail it. Yeah. Or if you go to lift it, they're on there. They've already grabbed it. You don't feel them grab it, but you feel when you lift it. So, anything you want to add to that, Stuart?
Yeah, it's amazing how far they do follow a jig up. Like I've hooked them in 120 when we're fishing out past the 50s, and I've hooked them 40 metres off the bottom because it's 4 colours, so you know where you are. But
sometimes very high up.
It's strange, but sometimes they just follow it up. It's not that they sit in there, it's just that they...
It's a bit like when you're jigging for kings. They sort of have like that mental, maybe it's if they feel the pressure in their head, I don't know, but an area where they know it's their safe zone, they just won't go past it, very rarely. Yeah. So when you're jigging, guys, if your line's getting too far at the back, you obviously need to wind it all the way back up, or you back the boat up and then drop it back down. It is really hard to jig and electric reel fish or bottom fish at the same time. You got to either be jigging or doing that because your back up doesn't match up with the guy that's jigging.
You got different sink rates. So
Yeah,
someone's got a kilo at the back and the other guy up the front's got like 80 grams.
Yeah, that's right.
It's obviously going to sink a lot.
So you're trying to back up on the guy that's way up, whoop, whoop. But the other guy's going, hang on, you run over my line. Because his line's under the boat.
Yep.
So it's really difficult.
So with the baits in the wireweed,
Yep.
are you actually trying to drag your sinker and stuff through the wireweed
You-
or keep it just above?
No, through the
No,
wireweed.
through.
It's got to be slack. So you will get caught up a fair bit, mate. But generally, unless it's a bit of rocky bottom, generally it's like gravel, I think, or shaly stuff. It'll get stuck in the wireweed. But if you're using, I don't use any breakaway sinker stuff. I use like 100 pound.
You get the quality comes
You'll just rip it through. Yeah. And it tends to actually, I rarely bring a piece of wireweed up. Generally, it seems to pull itself through. And it'll be stuck for a bit and then all of a sudden just lets go. Yeah. You get that sort of orangey stuff on your line, gooey stuff. Yeah, so in the wireweed.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, and just the electric, if you want to pass that for a sec, Stu. So this is the rig I use for pearlies. I use it actually for flamies. I use this rig out to 300 metres. So I'll do it all here. So you got one of these rigs in your bags, guys. These are ones we custom make here, and they are absolute killers. Just don't get it stuck on the bottom and lose it, please, first go. That'd be a bit of a shame.
So is that a lithium battery you strapped to the
That's a lithium
Yeah.
battery, yeah. So that battery, that's a Beastmaster. I got a Beastmaster and a Forcemaster, and I got a Diotenacom from years ago as well, and the big Mia. That'll last me all day, like 12 hours of hardcore 300 metre, 350 metre fishing, and still full power. So pretty good. Okay, so our rig comprises, we just use a bit of, the Lumo and more Lumo is better, okay? The more Lumo you can put in line and rig, the better. Which I'll run through a bit later, how to make them all up. But, so this says big snap swivel at the end, swivel on the top of my rig here. That could be a bit shorter, of course, that could be up here pretty close to there. But I just like to have a bit of height to try and keep it out of the wireweed, mate. Is one thing. These little little skirts here, these glow Lumo blue, they're really, really good. The pearl is just, everything just loves them. The hook's also Lumo as well. And you got Lumo tube on there and Lumo blue bead as well. So this rig here, if you can see that, like normal three-way swivel that you're probably normally used to, has like the swivel, and then the,
It's got like a pin that goes through it.
yeah, so
Yeah.
normally your swivel's like that type of swivel there, and you have like a little thing here, the swivel on there. That's like a normal three-way swivel, right? And that doesn't really turn around. But on this one here, Stu wants to hold that tight for a sec, buddy. So this one here, that actually just spins around, it turns around. So when you've got a pearly on and it's twisting, there's no twisting in your line, and it can't unhook itself, does that make sense? So if you get your line twisted up and the pearlies come up and he's spinning, we get to a point where your line's all tight and the twist is very tight, and then it leverages the hook over his mouth. And we've learned over years not to use that type of swivel anymore, that type there. So we use the one that goes around and around, they don't come off. Okay.
Yeah, the other ones that you can get are like a pipe swivel.
Yeah.
You can crimp it to your main line. I think the rigs in your guys' bags have that. But just a
So
bit,
that's the two styles that we use.
bit of a faster style. If you do use like a pipe swivel, you've just got to put another bit of line in when you crimp it. Otherwise it'll bruise your main line. It can break.
So between your branches, you're running about 1 metre, okay, and then 1/2 metre for your, it's 1/2 metre long when we cut it, but by the time we crimp it all up, it shortens down to about 450 mil. And obviously circle hooks are in there as well. And then we go down like 1 metre to the next one Stewie's got down there, and then 1 metre down to the next one. And when you're getting flame snapper, like they're always around 1 metre long, they're going to slap each other, so you need to have at least 1 metre gap between the hooks, you know, or a cod. That's the next one. And then we got 1 metre down below that. So my rig's like sitting at the top there, around about, with my sinker. So on the end here, on the swivel here, I'm running about 80 to 100 pound breakaway line, because that's 150 pound, that line there. So I'm running about 100. And it tends to pull most sinkers out of the crap, but it does get caught sometimes and break off, of course. But my line from there down to there is about 1.5 metres to 2 metres. Two reasons. One is I can get all my fish in the boat, and my sinker's still in the water, and I can just reach over and grab it. It doesn't bang outside the boat. I'll chip up your boat, and it's just sitting there. And the second reason is the sinker's down, dragging through the bottom, and my rig's sitting like 5 or 6 metres up. It's getting up in the zone where a lot of fish sit above the bottom, and just drifting through. When I back up slack on the motor, on the outboard, and that line's still 5 or 6 metres up, all those baits are sitting up in where they're sitting, and they're just going to pound it. You know, that's where if you run it down too close to the bottom, I think it's just not as good, as effective, and you get more chance of getting hooked up on the bottom. So that's why we make our rigs quite long. Yeah. So run your leader off that. That's at the bottom, about 80 to 100 pounds when you're deep dropping, and about 2 metres long. Okay. When you get up to that size sinker, like 3 kilo or 4 kilos, you really need to, unless you've got man hands, you need to have a glove on to wrap to pull it into the boat. It's a bit heavy. Okay. Anything else you want to know about that, guys? Is there anything else you want to know about that rig? So that rig, it's just give it a shot. You've got one in your bags. It is an absolute good one. We sell these, and we have all that gear, which is what those swivels are going around at the moment. It's the swivels that we use. That leader is actually on the flame snapper and the pearlies. I like to use a very soft leader, and the only soft leader gets a UV leader. So this one's UV. That stuff there. We sell it. It's in 150 and 200 pounds. I think it is.
130, 150, 200.
Oh, is it 150?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, 130, 150, 200. And it's extremely supple. And normal leader, this is actually fairly supple, this stuff too, don't get me wrong, but nowhere near like that one there. This is also much thinner as well. I've got my torch here, UV torch, so I didn't bring it, I forgot, sorry. But if you shine it on there, it's like super blue colour. And that seems to get the fish going for some reason as well.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
What do you reckon about the weight of the actual weight of lead? How do you judge how heavy you go?
It's judged by the current drift you're doing. So I have a rule in like that's the maximum I'll use in that depth sort of thing. So when I'm fishing for pearlies up to say 130 metres, I'll try not to go more than about 20 ounce, which is 1.25 pounds sinker. It's only light. You know, if it's a bit of current, I might put on up to 1 kilo, but I don't like to use, and then out to 300 metres, the maximum I use is about 1 kilo or 1.5 kilo. I'll try never to use 2 kilo under 300 metres. So yeah, so just under 1 kilo, 1.5 kilos maybe, out to 300. And then 300 to 500 metres, it depends on the current and the wind, because it can make a big difference out there. But generally 2 kilo minimum, and I try not to use more than 4 kilo. Yeah. And it depends on how much you back up and windage.
Yeah.
And the winds fluctuates too. You know, you can be out there and it's like it could be a bit of a squall comes through, like a bit of rain, shower squall comes through. It might go from 5 to 15 knots or something, the lines at the back like that. But you don't want to change your sinker just for that 10-minute period. You're better off persisting with it. Yeah. So sometimes we're forever in reverse, just reversing, just popping away in reverse, chipping away, just keeping away, keep watching the lines. You've got to be really careful you don't get your lines caught around the prop. That's the big thing, especially in about 400 metres or 500 metres, because you've got 400 or 500 metres of braid out, and it's expensive, you know. You don't want to lose it. And if you chop it off at the prop, your reel's half empty, and it's, you know, sometimes you've gone 70 k's, and yeah, that's why I don't like putting 100 pound braid on these reels, on the Beastmaster or Forcemaster or the Tanacoms, because they just don't hold more than about 600 metres of 100 pound braid, you know. So if you lose 400 metres, you've got to go home. Simple as that. And the fish might be on the chew. So if you put 80 pound on, you get 1,000 on. And if you drop off 400, say if you just did, which you don't want to do, you're straight into it. You're straight away catching fish. Yeah. Thanks, Sarah. Cheers, mate. Yeah, so you're straight away catching fish again. Just rig up and go straight back down again.
So for your spooling on, you're going 80 pound?
80 pound braid. So most 80 pound braids that break at 100 anyhow. They're tough. Very hard to break. You try and like just break it doesn't work. And when you hook on the bottom, like we'll anchor up my mate's 40-foot cat with 80 pound braid. Can't break it. It's so hard. Get your hand on the spool, trying to hold it. You get locked up drag is trying to hold it to pop it, but yeah, it's obviously we do our crimps pretty good.
Yeah, that's right. Good rigging, good
Good
nuts.
rigging. Yeah.
But yeah, it's very hard to break.
It's very hard to break. So 100 is just really hard to break. 100 you actually got to tie off the cleat on the back of the boat and try and pop it, and generally breaks there.
It breaks that complete.
Yeah, so you don't want to do that. So, and like I've never ever lost a big fish on the braid breaking ever. I've lost it on the leader end, but not the braid end. Yeah, and even on my big reel over there, I used to use 150 pound on that, but now I only use I think it's 120, 110, somewhere in there, P8. So I downscaled on that too. That's my beast for the big ones. So yeah.
Yeah.
Then when that one gets anchored up, it's really hard to break. Got to drive it off, sort of thing. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Any questions on the pearlies, guys? So look for the wire weed. Look between that 95 and 125 metres, and then concentrate on zooming your sounder into 20-metre window, no more, and just look for that little bit of fuzz on the bottom. So I'll just quickly show you how it looks real quick. So your bottom will just look like, that's just sounder again, sorry. That's not a very good pen, that one. So that's your sounder. And let's just say this is your bottom here. Let's actually do it on a down scale. So we're going down the bottom here. This is looking at, say, half screen here. This is looking at 0 to 150 metres. And so we're in 122 metres. And the bottom's gone from 50 fathoms, I've gone at 2 or 3 Ks. And it's slowly gone down like that. And I saw a little bump just there like that, because that's 0 to 150, so it's very hard to see. So that's obviously going to be maybe 3 metres. So I'll go back around on that, and on this side over here, that might look, that's now looking between, say my zooms around here, at about 120 to 150. Oops, sorry. So I'm looking in that area there, zoomed up, so that's looking sort of like this sort of thing. And then I've got that there, like that. So that's that blowing up bigger. And then when I change my direction and go north-south, that line now will be like that. Might be pretty straight, but I'll have fuzz there, if that makes sense. And the fuzz is a lot bigger here. So that's like that. And there may be some fish in there and a few up here as well. And that's what I'm looking for, okay? That sort of scenario. But you've got to find it first. You've got to find that little bump on the down or the up. So you sort of zigzag between a 120, oh, sorry, not 120, about 95. The 98's a real good depth actually, 98. But 95 and about 130. And that area is about probably, as I was saying before, about 2.5 Ks east-west. And that's, has anyone done that before in that sort of depth? You guys are missing out, eh? For a little bit? Yes, yeah. For many, many, many years, I mean from the early 80s to probably maybe early 2000, around 2000 for 20 years, we always stopped at 85 metres or 88 metres, that was it. Never went further. And then when sound has got a bit better and GPS has got better and gear got better, we just go a bit further, looking a bit further because there's too many boats on our mark maybe. And then all of a sudden it's a whole new world and there's snapper there and there's kings there and there's pearlies there and everything's bigger. Like with the snapper we catch out here in amongst this wire weeds, what, not 80 centimetres? Yeah,
it's a very good average.
Yeah, it's good average. You don't get many under 60.
No.
Always good snapper. Yep, so look for it, and it's all the way along the coastline. It's everywhere nearly. There will be gaps, maybe 3 or 4 Ks between wireweed patches, but it's all the way along. Off Moreton there's heaps, guys, too. Yeah. So deep tempest, you want the other side of deep tempest, maybe 2 Ks past deep tempest. Yeah. Okay, any questions on the pearl perch before we go a bit further? All good? Okay, back up. Very important. Back up, back up. Can't say it enough. Back up. Line slack.
Instead of backing up, do you ever use your electric so you're facing forward?
As an electric motor?
Yeah, so I do it sometimes where I'll...
Yeah, it's electric motor is really good if it's windy, but not when the current's
I'll
running.
hold my spot, but like,
Oh, yeah.
instead of like having the boat facing 180 degrees,
Yep,
I'll have it running at 4 or 5.
yep.
Instead of like...
So you sort of trickle back with the current, but hold yourself
Yeah,
a
so
bit
I'm
better.
driving back towards
Yeah.
my lure as it's
Yep.
going down.
Yep.
But the boat's facing forward rather than backwards. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as you can sort of pitch with it, but maybe pull yourself a little bit against it, that makes sense what you're saying, might be okay. But with electrics, when the current's running hard, your line's too far at the back. It's actually worse. You're better off drifting with it rather than hold yourself on the spot. So anything, I don't know if
Yeah,
that too.
look, it's hard. If you can do it and you keep your lines up and down ways, you're laughing, but...
36s with plastics a lot.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, different, yeah.
And I'm thinking, can you do the similar thing?
100%,
100%.
100%, yeah,
Yeah.
can mate, yep,
Yeah.
yep, definitely.
Yeah.
But one thing I've learned in snapper's different scenario with plastics where you're concentrating on school there. You want to try and cover a fair bit of ground, and a lot of time the fish will come with you, and then they'll even come on the bite even more in one area. Maybe they're feeding in that area and they join up their mates because they've been following the line, I don't know. And then other times you'll get nothing, and all of a sudden you'll get more fish again. Where if you hold yourself on one spot too long, you are relying on what they're biting underneath you, sort of thing. So
I'm still drifting.
Still drifting.
Yeah.
I'm still going, so I'm going backwards.
Yeah, that's right. You're facing head into the current instead of stern into the current.
Yeah, so I'm looking
Head
at
into
Right.
the drift.
Yeah.
Constantly driving the
Yeah.
electric back towards it.
Yeah,
It's
right.
too gone.
Yeah, okay.
Or does it not work out?
No, it definitely worked out. Because that's how we actually, I'm going to talk a bit later on the deeper dropping, but when we're in really strong currents, say around 3 knots in 400 metres, we do similar scenario, but we use the boat, but we drop our lines right near the mark. I'll put it on top of it, and then we'll drive up the depth, if that makes sense, or just a bit over it, 10% over it. So we'll drop out, we're in 400 metres, we'll drop out maybe 480 or 450 metres, and in that direction. And then the boat's then facing the lines the other way, like you're saying. And then the boat comes back, and as the boat comes down, the line just keeps free falling right onto the spot. And you get the first wham bam hit and you're on. Otherwise you're off it straight away.
So you try to time that so that you're actually directly above the line.
Correct. Yeah,
Around
that's right. That's
what
right.
it means.
Yeah,
Bit of a skill or what?
that works well.
No, but I mean, it's a skill to do it.
Oh, it's a skill to do it, but it's actually harder to go up and drop your line and hope that you're going to land on the spot coming back with a fast current. It's actually easier to do it that way.
Right.
That's the way the pros do it. With the electric reels. Yeah. Yeah. Well, they taught me anyhow.
Why don't it still current take?
No, it doesn't. It's because it's in free fall. A little bit, but not much. So as I said, we might land on 10 or 15% more
Is that,
distance up.
sorry, I don't mean to cut in, but is that because you've got enough weight there to hold it? Or what?
Yeah, so it's all relevant to the weight you're using, of course.
Yeah.
But if you keep on what I was saying before, like sort of, if you work about 1 kilo maximum per 100 metres, how does that sound? So the maximum 400 metres you'd use is 4 kilos, you know. If you have to use that on that day, that's what you use. The electric reels don't really care what size weight's on, they just wind it up. So, well, if it's us, you know, we don't want to put 4 kilos on. I'm trying to get like 2 or 1. If those of you have ever bottom dropped by hand, it is extremely hard to even pull up 1 kilo of weight. It's extremely hard. 1 kilo fish, no problems. 1 kilo lead, I don't know what it is, but it just triples the weight. It's a different scenario.
Yeah.
Really weird. 3 kilos of lead, oh my gosh. You need a Schwarzenegger. Yeah. You need you on the boat, Errol. A big man to wind it up.
Mounted on the side.
Yeah. But anyhow, but yeah, so just give it a shot, mate. Give it a shot. Yeah. If it's working in close, and the current's not too strong, it should definitely work out further. Yeah. A few guys have been out there with electric motors who've watched them, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. In that sort of 130 metre mark. Not over, but in that depth, yeah.
Yeah, I learned to go down.
Yeah.
to the sixes.
Yeah, no, it'll work out there, mate. Yeah. Okay, so just getting back to the jigs that we were talking about before, there's like an array of jigs that will work on the pearlies, and as Stu was saying, the ball joint ones are by far the most popular ones we sell. There's all different shapes, sizes, colours, and whatever else. And then there's this new stuff which Tackle World are doing, which are in other brands as well. It's a jig, but you can actually put a strip of bait or a pilly on it as well and use it as a jig. Does that make sense? But you've got the added taking.
The attractant
Oh,
of
the
the
smell.
skirt and
Yeah,
the bright colour.
yeah. But you can use it without bait, of course, as well. Yeah, and they do those up to like ones that we only got these in, unfortunately, the last couple of weeks. So I'm hanging to try this out in the deep, but that one's 400 grams. So that one I'll use definitely out 300 metres. We'll get down there, no problems at all. I reckon that will maybe give the cod a bit of a tickle up.
Yeah.
And then there's this other brand here, which is Catch. They do this big one, which I'm going to try out on the bigger cod at that sort of 500 metre mark, or blue eye. and that one's 750 grams, so they get right up there. Pretty good. I'll pass that around too. Thank you. So that's the jigs we're going to use in close, guys, and doing that sort of stuff. Okay, then I'm going to get to 280 metres. So actually, before I get any further, I'll do the marks as we go along in each area. Is that okay? So you get some idea where we are. The guys up in Brisbane, these are all down our way, but there are some here that are up towards towards Point Lookout. So, so that's Point Lookout there. That's Jumping Pin, Burley, Heads, Tweed Heads. So that one there is south 27, I think it's 28, right about. That one there is south 2743. Tweed Heads is south 2810. And that'll give you some idea where these marks are. So 2735, which is the first mark under 150 metres. So that's going to be just south of Lookout. You're probably somewhere around here. And you're out in 153.43. So 153.43 is about 110 metres, around about 110 metres. So that's the lines that run down this way. So 50 fathoms is on about up this end of town is about 153.41. So 43 is a couple of miles past the 50s. The next one is 2738. So every time that number goes from 2735 to 2738, you've gone 3 miles south. Okay. Every time it changes from 35 to 36, it's 1 nautical mile. It's about 1.8 k. And we've gone out a little bit deeper. We've gone to 153.44, but that's because the coastline wraps the same shape as Australia pretty well. So the ridges, like the 50 fathom ridge, it doesn't run straight. It's sort of got a bit of a bend in it, a bit of a curve, sort of like a bit of a curve that sort of way. So as you get down further south, you've got to go a little bit deeper to get the same depth as up further north. A bit hard to understand, but anyhow. So that one's a few miles south of Lookout. The next one, 2744, that's pretty well east of Jumping Pin Bar. That's where we fish a lot, and that's really good pearly country. A lot of wireweed there. It's really good. That's 2744 and 153.46. 2803. That's about off sort of Broadbeach, and that's a good area as well. There's some really good pearly country down there. My biggest pearlies, or a couple of biggest pearlies ever, in those couple of marks there, that 47 area. It's quite a big long ridge. It runs for miles. There's bits of sand in between, and it's in about 108 metres. And we got 2 years ago. We got 74 and a 76 centimetre pearl perch there, which is like 6 or 7 kilo. They're really big ones. And we get lots of big ones, you know. And then 2809, we off Tweed Heads on that one there. Then 2728, that one there is actually should be at the top, but that one there is actually it's a bit deep. It's around about 150 metres deep. That's sort of like the inside of the flame snapper marks, if that makes sense. But you get pearlies there, okay? That's the deepest I've ever caught pearl perch. And that one's in about, I think it's in around about 160 metres. That's the bottom one on that. It says under 150 metres, it's actually a bit deeper. Okay.
So I fish off Tweed predominantly,
Yep.
so that second to bottom one,
Yep.
I'm likely to find similar ground in that
100%.
easterly range. Just for
You will, mate. Yeah, it runs all the way down as well. You've got a lot of ground in that next area, which I'll show you when we get to it. Yeah. But for pearlies, that's where I've got the big ones, mate. Yeah, about 2809. Yep. Give that a shot. Just remember, New South Wales got to have a license, guys. Okay. Get a 3-year one. I think it's about $80 or something for 3 years. Good value. Okay. Now we're going to go out a bit deeper. So we're going to go now to around that 220 to 300 metre mark. So how many guys have got boats here that are around? How many people got boats under 6 metres? Okay. So I have seen guys off, not so much up this way, but down off Tweed, in like 4.5 metre boats, and they're in 300 metres deep, and I'm quite surprised with electric reels. And I'm like, wow, okay. Well, you go out here, and everyone's sort of like 7 or 8 metres, you know. But down there, they're quite small. But the thing is, out here, if you went straight from the coastline out, we're at least 40 to 50k run out here to get that depth. Where down there, you guys are in like, you're probably 20, 22 k's off the coastline, 23 k's. It's not that far out to 200 metres deep.
And it's more directly behind you because you go running.
Exactly right.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, southerly swell always. It's right behind them. Correct. So the thing I can suggest, guys, is if you have a smaller boat, my suggestion would be to fish more down at Tweed Headsway, if that's what I'm getting at. Okay. For those of you, that's if your boat's under 6 metres. If your boat's 5.5 metres and a big 5.5 metres boat, and the weather's under 15 knots and the swell's under 1.5 metres, you can fish out as far as you want all day long, you know, as long as you have fuel capacity. So safety is really paramount, because out there your radios don't work too good. If you do get in a drama, go to number 82 on your VHF, and that's a repeater station at Tamborine Mountain, and they'll be able to hear you better than trying to call on 71, 73 or something like that. So 82, just remember that one. But so if you get a flat battery or something like that, unless there's someone out in the area, they won't hear you. They might see a flare or something go off. But just be careful. And fuel. Some of you guys have run out of fuel and they're going out wide for the first day and haven't realised it's a fair way out. So, but you know, if you get in the weather that's under 15 knots and there's no prediction of any bad weather coming up, especially westerly in winter, or the swell's under 2 metres, and you've got the fuel and safety gear, you're pretty safe in any boat that's around 5 metres or bigger. Okay. Good.
Does it depend as well? So obviously if you got the current going one way and then
Yeah, so that's
once the current starts running back to the south,
Yep.
and you've got a southerly, is that more of an issue when you're...
Terrible. So yeah, so we have two problems in our waterways out here for safety. Two aspects that are really bad. One is in winter westerly winds. So westerly wind, we have Tamborine, Springbrook Mountains, big mountain, and we're hiding down the bottom down here. And when those westerlies blow, and it's probably blowing 40 knots up there, whatever, when it's howling westerly, and when you're on the coastline, it's like a glass out there, and the trouble with westerly is the further out you go, it's not too bad. It's a bit rough, but it's not too bad. But when you turn around and you're 30 k's out, you shoot yourself because it's standing up like surf. It's breaking. So when you got swell against wind, it does what you were talking about for south against the north. Same scenario. So westerly winds are really bad out deep water. Okay, be really careful. If you see any dust coming in the distance and you're out 40 k's offshore, just put the hammers down, cut your lines off. I don't care. Just get in as far as you can, make as much ground as you can west. And then you'll be right, because we've been caught out in those bloody westerlies are terrible. Anyhow, same with the current. So that's in winter. Then in summer, or starting now, when you get that current comes through at 2 or 3 knots, and you got a 15 or 20 knots southerly and a bit of swell, so 2 metre swell, it's the same scenario. You get the strong current pushing against the wind, and it forces the waves to come bigger, the swell to get bigger, and then they break on the top. Exactly like a westerly wind against the swell, but it's the other way around. So that's the two bad things you don't want. So if you've got a little boat and the swell's a bit big and there's a little bit of feathering in the waves, like at 10 or 15 knots, and the swell's over 1.5 metres, that's why I say don't go out if it's over 1.5 metres, because they will break, and they'll break like 1 metre on top and roll down the front, even though it's only blowing 15 knots of wind. And that can easily fill a little boat up if you haven't got high sides on it. Okay, make sure your bilge pump works. Yeah, I don't know if you can have that. And it's always backing up. You know, you back up. You want to back up into it, and you're always backing up into that wave that's coming down, and this fills the back of the boat up. We've had that happen in a 21-foot boat. We had once that same scenario. We bear that much water in the back. It filled up went all into the cabin, filled up in the cabin, and the fish were on the bite. just want to back up. I said, just back up a little bit. Just backed up, and the prop came out. The boat went down, just filled up. And then it went all down the front of the boat, and the boat was going like this down the wave because all the water's at the front of the boat. And then we got the motor started, and then sort of had to get it up a bit so the motor would all come back at the back, and then the motor was under the water. It's pretty scary. So be careful backing up into that sort of sea. Yeah. And even electric motor will pull it under in that situation. If it gets a good hold of the water, it doesn't pop out of the water, it stays in. And when you just holding yourself there, and the wave pulls up and can get you. So be careful. Okay, yeah, I've done really scary stuff. So, but under 10 knots and under, metre and a half and under, you're fine. Okay. And yeah, swell was. Okay, so get back to the deep water. So now we're at in 250 metres to 300 metres, whatever it might be. There's a lot of fish guys between that 250 and 300 metre line. 280 is the magic mark for flame snappers and bar cod and all that sort of stuff. It's like the happy area. It's about as deep as you'll get snappers, about 280. They love that 220, 230 metre mark. And down off Tweed, there's a lot of grounds in that area, in that depth.
How far out is that?
If you are off Point Lookout, you're about probably 20k off Point Lookout. Yeah, but from here up, it's about 60k. And if you go down off Tweed, it's similar run. It's about 60k run from the seaway down. It's about the same distance actually, Errol. But you're similar distance down there too. You're about 22k out or something like that, 23k out. But if you go out to the grounds here to Riviera Grounds, which is straight out the front, we have areas there in that 300, 320 metre mark, or 280 to 300. It's about 48 k's.
48K?
Yeah. Because of the big bend. We're in a big bay here. People don't realise we're in a big bay here. So the tips are pretty close to the reef, but the middle is a long way back. So it's a long run out to there. But in the long run of it, it's actually closer to go out to there than to go that way.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? But you're just a long way offshore. Yeah. You still see the high rise.
I've got to venture out that way.
You do. How big's your boat, Errol?
Sorry?
How big's your boat, mate?
6.5?
Yeah, you're fine, mate. Yeah, you'll be right. Yeah, good boat. Yep.
225 on the back.
Yeah, you'll be fine, mate. You'll be fine. Yep. On those days, those good days.
I've gone about, the furthest I've gone out is probably another 20 minutes past spot X,
Oh, yep.
and it's about another.
Okay, so you're in about probably around 180 metres,
Yeah.
or maybe 200. You're not far off it, because as you get out there, it sort of incline goes even quicker.
Okay.
Yep. But down off Tweed is extremely close. So when you're out here and you're fishing in that 280 metre mark, say out the front here, or 300 metre mark, or even up towards Lookout Way, from there out to say 400 or 500 metres, when you have a go for some blue eye instead of bar cod, whatever, it's about another probably 6k or 8k. But when you're down off Tweed and you're 22 or 23 k's offshore in 220 metres, to go out to 500 metres is about less than 2k, 1.5k. It's very close. It's just there. Yeah. So
if you're going to run out of the Tweed, probably better off
going
out.
A little bit south. A little bit south.
Trailer boats, you just go down, put in there,
Yeah,
go straight out.
if you don't mind the Tweed bar and the swells all good in that, 100%. Just go straight through the Tweed bar. It's like going to not much further than 36s. Or maybe, but for the 50s, so if you're going up from here to the 50s, from the seaway up, it's a lot closer down there to go to fish in 250 metres. A lot closer. Yeah, that's why they see a lot of little boats out there. Always surprises me. But I've got to think it's just like going to 36s maybe at northeast, you know, in distance. Yeah. Yeah. So, so what do we use down there? We use exactly that same rig, guys, exactly the same as this. I use that same rig, no change, in that depth. And those little hooks there, they're 8Os, or 6Os, 8Os. They'll catch fish up to around 30 kilos, okay? They're made by BKK, they're a really good hook, strong, sharp, whatever. just my lead changes. So I'm using, like I said before, 20 ounce in that sort of sub 150 metres. Now I'm up in the ante to at least 1 kilo, or maybe even 2 if I have to. Okay, and that's up to 300 metres deep. Yep. And I won't put on the bigger rig like this type of thing yet. I'll stick with the little one because I'm still gonna. It's still 150 pound, and it's still strong enough. Okay. Really, I've got the odd day you might get bitten off by a shark, or you might get busted off. But it needs to be something pretty substantial to do that. On that, it's pretty hard to break a 100 pound. Why not even 150 pounds? Even harder. So you're generally pretty safe. It's not until you go the next level out, which we'll talk about in a minute, that everything upgrades in size. Yeah.
So that sort of
Yep.
260 to 280.
Yep.
What's your starting point for your sinker generally?
Single would be 1 kilo. 1 kilo. Yep. And for jigs, around 400 grams, which is this size here.
Yeah.
That size. Okay. So you need to go more that longer style when you get out to the deeper water, because you get too much resistance. Yeah, in the fatter style. So it needs to fall down quick. So I did a thing quite a few years ago. We dropped actually that same lure, the Japanese made, down next to 4 kilos of lead, and I was using 80 pound braid on a Penn International reel, and it actually hit the bottom at the same time as the 4 kilos of lead. That's only 400 grams, but because of the shape. Okay. When we get out to around that 400 grams is heaps out there. We only use even 280.
Yeah.
It depends on obviously the weather and the wind and everything. We tend to use this. We use a lot of this braid here. This is a really good braid on our reels. That's what's on that overhead reel Stu had before. So we're only using like 50 pound braid, and it's P3. So it's 30 pound diameter in normal braid. It's very, very thin. And with that sort of 400 gram lure and 300 metres, it just rockets down really quick. And you can feel everything on it. And when you jig it, it doesn't go straight like that with the current. It's pretty well falls straight back down again. Okay.
Yeah, when you're jigging with the Leica, you really need to minimise resistance. So shorter leader, lighter line, thinner line. And then, as Dougie said, it just allows your jig to sink a lot quicker, a lot more straight, doesn't drift out the back, you're fishing more direct. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you start using, before with the pearl, this is a bit hard to use 100 gram jigs, right? And it's quite hard when you're using 20 ounce sinker and the 100 gram jig. There's a big difference. And as I was saying before, you can't really do the two together, it's very hard. But when we're out in the deep water in 280 metres or 400 metres, and we're using 3 kilos of lead or 4 to, Stuart uses this one here a lot, that's
560.
560 gram.
Yeah.
The pull on it in resistance is very similar to the bottom dropping line on our electrics. So you can actually use them together on that, using that light braid. Yeah.
Do those sort of jigs work fast out there? Or
No, you do it slow.
Still
So they're
slow.
actually a fast looking style jig.
Yeah, they're a bit of a
But you work them
hybrid.
slow. And you know, normally, Matt, you run a single hook on the top or a double assist on the top, because if you put one on the bottom and you're jigging fast, the line gets fouled up and you've got to wind all the way up to the top because it's caught up top and bottom. But when we're doing these slow pitch style, it never ever fouls up. So we run hooks top and bottom, double assist. And sometimes, not rarely you get 2 fish at one time, but the hookup rate's much better. Yeah. Yeah. Any questions on the jigging side of it, guys?
What about the hook sizes on the jig?
Yeah, so Stu, you got
Yeah.
some there, I think, everybody?
Like it depends on obviously
Yep.
the jig and the size, but generally about on a 560, about a 3/0 or a 4/0. Like I'll pass those.
That's actually like an 8/0 or
Yeah.
10/0,
Are
but
they a single hook?
double assist.
Double. Yeah.
Double assist, yeah. Run 2 doubles, top and bottom. But because you're doing it slow, it doesn't get fouled up, ever.
Yeah. That's the other hard thing, as Dougie said. That's about an 8/0 in other brands. Hook size is different with every manufacturer, so it's very hard.
Just pray you don't grab 2 pennies, grab each hand.
I had that happen before. And they slap against each other. Yeah.
And the other good thing about using that longer style jig is you catch everything on a long style jig. if you just use the real short, nuggety style jigs, or you catch a cod. And if there's no cod in there, you won't catch a kingy on a real short jig. You'll catch a kingy on a long jig.
Occasionally.
Occasionally, but yeah, it's definitely a better all-rounder.
Yeah. And they do those up to like 800 grams, which is
Yeah.
that sort of size. 880, I think it is. Getting up there, hard work. But we're only using those on those really light rods, guys. Really light. Okay. That one, I think the other rod I got over there, Stu's a bit bigger. That's a 4,000 Oshia. That's a 2,000. That 2,000 Oshia, there's one of the original ones I did. I've had that since, I don't know, 20 years ago. And it's caught that many fish. This is the new model now.
Yeah.
Was that rod rated 15, 24 kg?
No, this is actually a Japanese rod. It's super soft, but very, 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 very strong. Yeah, it's shooting as hard as you want on it. I'm running, that's got, is that P4 on that one? I can't remember.
P4.
P4,
Yeah, a little bit
so-
heavier.
70 weight on this one. This one I use on the blue eye and the bass gropers and stuff. Yeah, so the rod's like bent like that when you got a fish on. It's got like that with the jig on actually, but it just works.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're really good.
What about the drag pressure on that? If
Yeah, so they have mega drag, like about 15 kilos, I think.
you're-
Yeah,
and
it's
you're
enough.
ranked it?
Yeah, so Stu, I don't know if you saw that thing Stu got the blue eye recently,
Yeah.
and that was about probably 14 kilo fish, and at the start it
Pulled a bit of
pulled
drag,
a bit of drag
but
off you.
It
Yeah.
was firm. It wasn't locked up.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yep, just firm.
yeah.
So they won't, even a fish that size won't go back and refill.
Oh, I think a
The-
cod probably could, but
Cod
I
will,
think
yeah.
blue eye really
I got a 75 kilo bass groper on just after he got that fish on that the real big rod, and it hurt it, like it struggled, and it tried to brick me at the start. Really, I thought I actually had the bottom at one stage. It was, went to his hole, but I pulled him out of his hole. But they go really hard. So if you got that on that outfit, I know Casper gets a lot. Casper Guinness, I think his name is. He's really good at it, and he just uses a Torium, like a Torium overhead reel. Shimano, about sub $300, and smashes it on it and gets big cod on it, you know. So it doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to have the right line on it. That's the secret. Yeah, and a bit of a soft tip rod. Yeah, so give that a shot. Yeah. But getting back to the electric again now, so we're fishing in that 280, 300 metre mark. So I'm just going to get you to hold that, Stu, like you're the rod holder.
Yep.
So we don't hold the rods, they sit in the boat when you're using electrics, right? So with the sinker on, if I'm using, say, that kilo out in 280 metres, it's probably around about that when it's sitting on the bottom, with the sinker on it. When you see every bite, you see everything like that, and then you'll see it load up, sorry Stu, and there'll be a fish on there, right? And then you gotta remember, and I saw this from pros as well, the first fish, especially if it's a cod, they spew up their gut, and then their mates come hanging over and start eating your bait as well as what is spewed out. So you get the second cod on, or second fish on. When it does that, so we just got that first fish on, it's on there, and then you'll see it'll load up, and you've got two on there, right? At that point, it's up to you whether you push the button to bring it up. I would. And sometimes, if you've got a bigger cod on, if you've got, say, one that's maybe 10 or 15 kilo, then you've got like a 30 kilo one jumps on. It'll be like that, then all of a sudden it'll go like that. You think, oh shit, I've lost everything, you know? But the bigger boys carrying that other guy up, swimming up with your line, sometimes they come up out of their holes. And so you need to quickly push the auto and tack up the slack, and all of a sudden it'll load back up again, and I'll be on there again, okay? So just remember, if it goes slack, it's not because you broke your lines. Generally, the fish is on there, but they're swimming up with it, even with that lead, okay? And bring it up. When you bring it up, I'll just strip off about 10 metres of line, Stu, and show the speed sort of thing that we'll bring it up at. So we use a wind-on lead that's 150 pounds on this one. How many metres is that one? 10?
11, 12.
Yeah, it's good.
13.
So,
Yep.
so Stewie's just going to crank it up. I don't have to drag. Sit there, mate.
Faster.
Yeah. So, generally, what speed's on there now, mate?
12,
12.
13.
Yes, I had that
There's
on.
a little graph on the bottom
There's a
the
little thing
screen,
tells you on most different brands. It tells you what speed you're bringing it up at. I try and keep mine at between 18 and 22 with the fish on it. So it's a lot faster than what that was just then. And that's already brought up nearly 10 metres because there's the wind on just there.
Yeah.
So it's quite quick, but at the same time it's not too fast. With Pearlies, 16 to 18. Okay, so if you remember that. Most of them work on pretty well the same speed system. Yep. So it's true.
What is the speed of
You know, they say if they're empty, they've got nothing on there, it's 150 metres a minute, which is pretty fast. But I don't really look at it that way. I just look at this, how much pressure's on the rod. Generally speaking, if you're in about 250 metres and you've got a couple of 5 kilo fish on, it should take you around about 8 minutes to come up. Yeah, roughly speaking. Yeah. If you buy hand, about 28 minutes. Yeah.
What's a rig like that cost?
That's a Beastmaster, which is a pretty good one. We do better prices online, guys. So we do them spilled up for about around $2,400, I think it is, roughly speaking. That's rod, reel, and line ready to roll to snap on the end. The battery pack's about another $399. Okay. But that's getting up there. The next model down, which was the other rod which I got, which is the Force Master, it's about $600 cheaper. That's around 1700 and something, 1750 I think. Spooled up, ready to go. And then there's one model under that which we haven't been able to get for 3 months, but it's actually I just saw today it's coming maybe tomorrow or Monday. It's called a Plays 4000. It's Shimano as well. They hold 600 metres at 80 pound, which is enough to do 300 to 400 metres, even 500 if you don't get the line chopped off.
When you say they come?
They're due in tomorrow, I think. And those ones rigged up on the same sort of rod with the braid will be around about that, around 1450 mark or 1350, somewhere in that bracket. Not quite sure yet until I get the reels in. But they're probably our biggest seller. And then we do in the Daiwas the Tenacom 1000, which is by far the most popular reel because it's the cheapest. But they just don't have the power of these things, not even as much as the 4000 plays. But the Tenacom Daiwa Tenacoms on a rod for around $12.99. Okay, spilled up, ready to roll. Yeah. And that's on just a bit, it hasn't got the swivel tips, it's the basic rod. But they'll do the job right. Okay. But if you can afford it, I'd go the Force Master or the Beastmaster, 100%.
So servicing on the reels?
Yeah, servicing on the reel. So we send them to Shimano to be serviced. It is about a 3-week turnaround period. It's a bit of a while. So I do it when the current's running. If you have
What are they generally?
Oh, if there's nothing wrong with it, it's the general service, about $100, roughly speaking, $80 and they do a good job though. Yeah.
It's not necessarily something you have to get done every 6 months or every
Yeah.
year, or to be honest, we just send them down when most people get it done when there's something wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they've dunked it in the water or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully not that, but yeah.
No, hopefully not that much.
Yeah.
But once like that big combo there, which we'll talk about in a moment, that one's they're expensive. They're like about spooled up around 6K for the combo. And I've had that one. I've had that one since 2006, I think. So it's nearly 20 years old. It's done a lot of work, and I've never serviced it. And I don't look after my gear. They're pretty tough.
Just up there with that young pool, anchor up a boat.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I use it as an anchor as well. A winch, sorry. Yeah, it's huge. Yeah. I think it weighs about 8 kilos. But as Stuart saw the other day, that struggled the other day on that big bass groper, but that was a big fish too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put it this way, I'd hate to hook something like that on a manual jig. Hate to.
So come on, that's what it's all about, Stuart.
Yeah.
And I'll get back to the gear, guys. So when we go out to that 300 metre line, we're using the same rig as this, but we will maybe up the ante as we get around that, close to that 300 side of things, and then a little bit deeper, 350, because there's a chance that you're going to get blue eye or bass groper. The blue eye cod, like bar cod can be anything from 4 kilo to 35, 40 kilos. But bass groper, you don't get much under about 20 or 30 kilo, and they're up to 100, you know, or plus. So they're big. And the blue eye cod, again, I haven't caught many under 10 kilos. They're generally around that 15 to 25 kilo mark. So that's the beauty of deep water fishing. The fish tastes so good, the water's so cold. Stuart quite surprised. I was getting Stuart into it. And last time he felt the fish straight away and it come up, he goes, it's cold.
Feels like it's been sitting in ice. Yeah. Sinkers come up cold. Up, you know? Everything comes up cold.
Yeah, it's cold down there. So that's why you got to look after the fish. So you need to obviously bleed it and put it into ice slurry. Keep it in the same temp. Okay, but the meat's, yeah, it's as white as that. Has anyone ever obviously caught blue eye cod or bass groper yet, or bar cod? You guys have got a couple? Good, a couple of you here, that's good. Okay, so the eating qualities are restaurant quality, like very, very, very good. And you only need to get a couple of fish and you fill the freezer forever. So it's very worthy as well. But getting back inside that area, 220, 280 metres, I like that grounds because it's easier fishing, it's quicker fishing. Like if you get at 400 metres, it's double the time, right? Double the distance, double the depth, whatever. But that sort of around that 220, 280 metre mark is extremely easy fishing, and when you fish in the deep, and you get a lot more species. You get the snapper and you get the kingies and you'll get flame snappers and stuff like that, as well as the deeper water fish. And we've caught gemfish in that depth as well. But I'll just quickly go through the marks on those as well with you. So if you look at the under 350 metre deep mark, that 27, 28, again, it's right up near Lookout area, east of Lookout. And if you look on there, how it goes, like 153, 52, next one's 52, the next one's 53, but we've come 7 miles south. That whole ledge runs all the way down, guys, okay? Again, sand spots in between, but it's the same ledge with some parts more exposed. The bottom out here is quite undulating. It's around about, it can be up to 20 metre rises and 20 metre drops, okay? But there's a lot of soft coral. I fought the soft coral thing as a big fish one day. Stu will tell you about that, on a jig rod. I was spinning in the current, but it was a big piece of soft coral. So there's a lot of corals down there, and it's very alive on the bottom, very alive. So all the way down to, if you go down on the under 350 metre side, all the way down those 54s, so 153, 54s, there's like 3 marks there. So you're now 20 miles south of Point Lookout, so you're actually south of Jumping Pin Bar, but you're still on that same ledge. Now, if you guys got Navionics app on your phone, if you don't, you should put it on there. So Navionics boating, it's about $40 a year, best $40 you'll ever spend in your life. And I'll write up the board so you don't have it. I'll still gonna write up that Navionics boating. Let's get rid of that. So it's a really good app, and there's a lot of weird things on the bottom. They have the relief shading, which is what do they call it in
C-map reveal.
Yeah, C-map reveal.
That type of thing, yeah.
So it's a new mapping system out that's like, it's like 3D mapping looking at the bottom. And to buy the chart for your GPS is around about $350 or $400.
Yeah.
It's up there. This is $40, same chart, okay, on your phone. It will suck the batteries up. It doesn't work on data. It works on download from the satellite. So it chews the batteries up pretty quick. So make sure you've got like a cigarette lighter or something you can plug it into on your boat and keep your battery charged on your phone. But it's just so accurate. So as I said before, many times we've been going out and we've had marks here and marks there, and in between we believe it would be nothing. The sonar chart, the old sonar lines showed nothing. And then all of a sudden the CMAP reveal come out and we're going, oh look, there's a big black patch there, or a big black patch there, which generally represents a hole or whatever. And every time we go out there, we make a point of going to one of these marks, and they are spot on. So where we used to drive straight across at 30 knots, now we slow down, have a look, and all of a sudden the bottom goes from, 280, all of a sudden it's 320 and comes back up to 290, and it's full of fish and cods and stuff, and it's like, wow, I didn't know that existed. I've driven it for 20 years, It's just amazing. So get it for your phone, please. And there's a place that what I'm getting to is that 52 down to 54 mark, or even 55, but 54, it looks like a D9 dozer track on the bottom, if you zoom in on it. But it's actually rubble. We get snagged it all the time. It's all snag rubble. Don't know what it was back in the day, but it's legitimately a really good area to fish, and the track goes for about 20 k's or 30 k's, and it runs on a slight northwest pattern.
There's a few of those up there in the front of Port Lookout as well.
There is, that's correct. Yeah, I think it's sort of it looks like something in a dozer. Is it like there'll be a rock like this, right? And you see it go along, and the dozer track's going straight for it, and then it turns that way, it goes around the rock and comes back the way. Like that. So I don't know what the machines they used back in the old days before we become on this planet, but they were big. But it's around about 500 meters wide and 20 k's long, and there's fish all the way along it. And we didn't know it existed until that seabank reveal came out, which is only 2 years ago. So a lot of fish to be caught along that area. And it's most of that's it starts at about 50k from the seaway and goes up a little bit. You're only about probably 35 to 40 k's off Jumping Pin Bar, say, outwards, but it's just north a bit. Okay. So and that's where the flame snapper are too, guys. So flame snapper, bar cod, snapper, kingies. We get really big pigfish, like really big ones. Haven't caught pearlies in that depth. So I said 160 metres about the depth that most I've caught pearlies in. And we get other species as well.
Yeah, ornate jobfish. They're only small, but they're really nice,
Yeah,
really
nice
white.
to eat. Yeah.
Yeah, green eye shark, Dougie's favourite.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the Americans called tilefish?
Is that tilefish? Yeah, we get tilefish there too, mate.
Yeah, we caught
Yeah. Yeah. So tilefish are they're like a big parrotfish, guys, or a wrasse type of thing.
Yeah, they're like stretched.
Yeah, it's stretched, correct, mate. That's right. And they're really soft, like really beautiful flesh. Yeah. So again, another nice eating fish. Yeah. But what you need to do is you need to bait-wise. I'll get back to the fishing side of things for a sec before I come back to the GPS marks. But on those hooks there, mullet fillets work useless inside 100 metres off the coastline here. Over 100 metres, it's the number one bait. Don't know where the mullet come from out in that depth, but they like it. So, and what you do is you cut a mullet fillet into about 8 pieces. So if that's the fillet there like that, I cut it 2-finger width, like straight down here, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I cut that one that way. And I'll usually get that out of a decent mullet fillet that you buy in the shop, you know. And what I do is I get a pilchard. So this is a pilly. That's his eye there. I cut it about there. And on that circle hook, I put it through the eye there like that. And then this fillet here, I'll stick it through about here. From the flesh side to the skin side is where the hook comes out. And sometimes I'll just hang it down the side beside the pilly there, but that's gone, of course. Or I might go through twice if I use a bit bigger hook. The idea of it is when they bite on it, they mulch the pilchard, and they just want to come back and eat the mullet fillet. If I don't use the pilchard and just use a mullet fillet, they love it anyhow, it doesn't matter. But I do think you get a second bite on the other hook, sorry, if you have the pilly on there to dissipate in the water. Yeah.
It's like burleying down there.
Yeah, because you're in 280 metres, you don't want to just wind up if you get one bite, it's too far.
Ever tried barracuda?
Pike, like pike?
They're
Big barracuda, no.
really hard skin
Yes,
and stay on the hook.
really good. Yeah, so to be honest with you, any bonitos, slimies are really good too, filleted.
They're really soft in the flesh.
They are soft in flesh, yeah. It's hard, is it?
Using, Australian, barracuda.
Oh, I like the New Zealand barracuda with the big teeth. Yeah, right, okay, yeah. We don't get them here, unfortunately. Oh, we get them down south,
Yeah.
but not here, yeah.
So coming
Yeah.
into inch and a half by inch and a half.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah, so mullet filt's probably similar, I guess, but they're not as tough. Tailor filts would be really good out there, though, I dare think, as well. A bit soft. So liveys, okay, so liveys, we've tried liveys so many times, guys, and it's very hard to hook. They love it, don't get me wrong, they like the liveys, but they're hard to get the hookup rate on them. I don't know what it is. I think because flame snapper have very small mouths, they don't have big mouths. And for many years we didn't have the flame snapper there, just by accident we put little hooks in our line one time for pearly fishing, and hence why we use this rig now for pearlies and flamies. And we started catching flame snapper one day in the same area we've been fishing for years, because we always used, big hooks. But then we went downsize and started catching these flame snapper. So I think if you're using liveys, that they don't hook up as good, their mouth's too small. Even a flamey that's like 1.2 metres long, maybe 10 or 12 kilos, the mouth's only very, very small. Yeah. So small hook. And they're so nice to eat. Squid's good too, mate, yeah, so I'll put a bit of squid on as well sometimes. And if we run out of mullet filts, we use squid and pillies. And you put the pilly on first, put the squid on second. Yeah, always put the pilly on first. Yeah, on the circle. Okay, any questions on that at all, guys? No? Okay, cool. Okay, so your flame snapper, just so you know about, because the flame snappers, like for me, was the holy grail out of the Gold Coast, and I always thought they were from North Queensland, but they're down here, they're down at Tweed, there's heaps down at Brunswick as well, guys. So if you do have a trailable boat and you get good weather and a little swell, definitely hit down Brunswick way. I know Brunswick Bar's a bit of a pain in the backside, but fishing out there is really close. Within 18 or 20 k's, you're fishing on the shelf, like fishing in 400 metres. And it's really good fishing. A lot of flame snapper. So the flame snapper I've caught down to about 27.39, which is on that area there, the first 5 marks. Cod and everything else I've caught all the way down, and then I haven't caught flame snapper till it gets to around about 28.15. So between 15 and 39, which is a 60k run, roundabout. There's no flame snapper. I haven't found them yet. I'd like to know where they are. If you guys know, share. I'll share back. They're just not out the front here. Don't know why. Don't know. So you'll catch everything else though, but you just won't get the flamies. For the gentleman fish down Tweed Heads Way, the 28.15, the bottom 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 marks on that under 350 metre part, that is like really, really good fishing. So there's a big ledge down there, and it runs along from about east of Windara Banks and goes all the way down to New Brunswick. So you're about probably 30 k's south of Tweed Bar if you went down the diagonally from Tweed Bar. And it's in about 220 to about 260 metres, and it's very undulating, like 20, 30 metre rises. And they call it the boulders. Some people call it the boulders down there. It is an unbelievable spot. There's so many kings down there, and the kings you get in that 250 metre mark, guys, are like not the same kings you get normally in closer. They're very fatty and very, very nice to eat. Yeah, so when you catch them, they're like that. They're not like that shape. They're very fat and oily and delicious. Really nice for swimming. But in that same area, we get bar cod, we get lots of snapper, we get lots of these pink sea perch and stuff like that, up to about 2 or 3 kilos. They're really nice eating. You get tollfish as well, mate. All in that area down there. So sometimes it's worth having a venture a bit further south, tow the boat down. If you guys in Brisbane use your boat on a trailer? Yeah. So just take the effort maybe one day, get in Tweed and going out. Yeah, it's good fun and good fishing. We took Stu down in Tweed. That's the first time we've been down there last time.
Yeah.
Oh, we actually went from the seaway down. We went from the seaway down. But I've done Tweed Bar lots of times. Don't get me wrong.
Really?
Yeah.
It was like really, really
Bad.
Shocking. Is it shallow since all that big storm we had a couple months ago, mate? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 12.
See,
So like
Yeah.
from the north wall,
Mm.
it'll be proper top to bottom braking, and then you only
Wow.
got like a 30, 20 to 30 metre gap.
so you got to run up that Point Danger Way, do you?
Hard left,
Hard left, yeah.
Braking right.
Yeah, right. So a little narrow gutter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you got to go a good like 600 metres.
Oh, true. So past Point Danger Way. Wow.
forward.
Yeah, wow.
But they're fixing it at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah, the seaway's the same too, guys. Yeah, seaway anything over 2 metres now breaks halfway across the seaway. So you should be careful. Yeah. But as I said, if you're going to do these, when you go snap fishing in close, it doesn't really matter, or even 36s, but when you go a day out doing this sort of stuff, you have to be really, really careful with the weather. Yeah. Okay. But it's a big day, and make sure you don't just get there for like 4 hours. It's too far to go for 4 hours. When you get there, and my wife knows, we leave at 4 in the morning, we come back at 8 at night or 6 at night. It's a big day because you've just done 150 k's round trip, you know, 120 k's. There's a couple of marks there, 28, 29. That one right down the bottom there. That's getting down near down towards Brunswick Way. That one. So any questions on that sort of depth? Guys, exactly the same scenario, you're backing up exactly the same way, drifting the same way, doing everything the same way. Just bigger lead, not necessarily bigger rig yet, but we're just and bigger jigs at 400 grams now instead of 120.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyone to add to that, Stu?
No, I don't think so. No, that's about it.
No one's asked me about lights yet. So has anyone used lights yet on their bottom droppers? Definitely makes a difference. We've got all the colour lights under the sun, disco lights, green lights, blue lights, flashing, non-flashing. So non-flashing blue is my go-to at the moment. I've tried them all. So this one here, it comes in different shapes. There's that shape and there's a longer shape as well, which I think you guys have got in your bag. But it's just a constant blue glow. And anything that you've got that's UV, it's like a Christmas tree, it lights up. So, and I think that's what tickles their fancy.
What depth do you start using, mate?
About under 200 metres, unless it's on my line, I don't use it. Over 200, 100%, mate. Yep. Yep. Okay. The other thing you got when you go a little bit deep is you got the chance to get the swordfish as well. We've hooked a couple up, haven't got one yet. Got one, we thought it was one, was ended up being 120 kilo blue marlin, we hooked on the bottom. But I haven't got any swordfish yet. But my mate Dougie Farrow, he got 3 in the last 2 trips. I hooked 7 actually, got 3 up, and he got one that's about 120 kilo.
Yeah, right.
Oh, sorry, and he got one about 60 kilo. Lost one about 120 kilos at the boat. And actually, he had a big one on, and it was on the surface, and it got off, and it had a double hookup. And the other one was a smaller one, about 30 kilos. And the bigger one, which you reckon is at least 120 to 100, maybe 200 kilos, actually tried to eat the little one, actually speared it. And when he's got photos of it, he sent to me. And you can see the mark where it tried to eat it while it was on the other line.
They're very ferocious.
Ferocious.
But best eating.
Oh, best eating, yeah, I know. I haven't got one, I just want to get one. Yeah.
You caught one yet?
Not yet, haven't landed one yet, no.
If you're going to target them, I suggest you book in your chiropractor first.
Okay. Errol, my chiropractor.
I've caught 2 of them in New Zealand.
Did you? Yeah. Yeah.
20 years ago, 30 years ago.
And good eating, mate?
Sorry?
Yeah. Good eating, right? Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
can't even compare to the rest of them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Can't even compare.
Yeah, very white flesh for a bill
Yeah.
for sure. But anyhow, they're out there. They're out in the same area where you're fishing, guys. Yep. Yeah. 350 metres and deeper, or 320 and deeper. Yep. Okay, so now we're going to get to the deep water. So, how many of you guys reckon you get out that sort of 50, 60k, 6 metre boat or bigger? A few of you will, yep. Okay. So once you're out at 300 metres, it's only another 4 or 5k at east area. When you're down south, it's about 1k, very close, or 2k. And same off Lookout Way. So out there, we up the ante. So you have got a heavier rig in your bags. which is the only time I use it, be out in the deep water. Okay, and we do sell an array of sort of bigger deep dropping type rigs. But we have all the gear to make it up again. We have the swivels, we have the hooks, and you have the leader. It's quite easy to make up yourself. The reason why the rigs we sell these obviously Chinese made this style here, but the ones that are in the packets like that we make ourselves. The reason why they're so dear is it takes us about 20 minutes to half hour to make one. So that's why they're $30 a pop. You can make it, if you had the time, you could probably make the same rig for less than $10 with the gear, buying all the gear, okay? It's just a matter of getting the time to do it and have confidence in what you make.
So
Yeah.
do you actually sell the bits and pieces to make that?
We sell everything, yeah, which we should go here tonight and show, but we've got it downstairs here. Everything, yeah. Yeah, let's sort of spend $150 wherever and get all the bits and pieces, but then you can make up 10 rigs or 15 rigs. Yeah. So, does anyone know how to crimp okay? To crimp? Does anyone not know how to crimp properly? Believe me, probably should learn. Yeah. Stu, do you want to give a run through, mate?
Yeah, like I think the biggest thing is when you use when you crimp in mono, you just use an aluminium sleeve. Reason being is it's a little bit softer.
Yeah.
Kind of doesn't cut the mono as much, and there's definitely a way to do it.
Last time, Stuart.
I'll cut down.
Yeah,
I'll just cut a bit of leader and I'll just crimp one real quickly.
Pull that up in that big cod as well.
Sorry, do you just take
Are
a
you
bit of
right,
leader, mate?
Yeah. Nice, mate.
Yes. The other big thing is you make sure you use. I cut off the bottom at least. The other good thing is you've got to make sure that the crimp size is right to what you crimp in. So you want to put it through and you want it to be rather snug. You don't want it to be massively like a
you don't
real
want to be able to
force,
squeeze like that inside.
and you don't want it to be real loose.
Just snug in there is good. Okay.
And then just a good pair of crimpers. We sell a lot. The Opta ones are really good. When you do it, most of them these days actually have what size crimps stamped on there as to what notch you use. And then the other thing is when you crimp in itself, you don't crimp the very end of a crimp. Reason being,
a little flanger.
Yeah. Reason being is if you crimp the very end, I'll crimp the very end on one side and I won't crimp the very end on the other, just to show you. I'll pass it around. But you can see on the side that I've crimped the very end. It's actually folded over and it's very sharp. On the opposite end, it's actually flared it out and it's a smooth surface, so I won't cut it.
So when we go downstairs, guys, just do two groups. If you just split yourself in half, just for like 5 minutes, and I'll get Stuart to show you how to do it.
Yeah, if you've got any questions, come and see us. But
just watch how he does it. It's the same thing goes for your game lures and everything, same style of rigging up. So now getting to the deeper water, we're using bigger rigs, right? And we're using bigger sinkers. So we're using a minimum 2 kilo up to 4 kilos. And as I said, the electric reels don't know the difference in the weight. For them, it's just heavy to pull up. For us, it's very hard work. And we're running, on that one rig there, we're running 150 and 130 branch, I think it is, or 130, not quite sure.
130.
130.
Yeah.
On the heavier rigs, we're running sort of up to 300 pound main, but 200 is generally enough, and 150 branch sort of thing. Okay. 200 main is actually probably enough. 250 and 200 and 150 branch is enough. You want the branch to be not too stiff. You want it to be quite light. Even on that deep drop rig you guys have got, I think the branch is only 150. I think 300 main and 150 branch. So it's only quite light. So it's still quite supple. You will lose the odd fish, but you'll get a lot more bites with the bait sort of being more natural down there. Yeah. And we've got all the glow stuff to go with it, of course. Getting back to the deep water fishing, when you're fishing out there, your rod's going to be bent over a lot more with, we're going to show you a video in a real quick sec. It's going to be a lot more bent over with the weight of the sinker on it, but you still see the bites really easy. Okay. It's the same scenario, you back up, it's the same everything. It's just, you just got to allow yourself, you've got to do that blind drift first and see how far you drift. So if you drift maybe like a perfect current's under 2 knots. So I think under 2 knots is really good fishable. Anything over 2 knots can be a little bit of a problem if you're not good at it or know what you're doing. So, and when you go over 3 knots, you've got to do the drive forward thing like we talked about earlier. So 2 to 3 knots, just allow yourself time. Takes around about probably around 3 minutes to get to the bottom in 400 metres deep or 500 metres deep. And so you need to go for a drift up and see which way you're drifting and see how far you drift in that 3 minute period. You might drift 700 metres. So then you'll need to go 700 metres up in front of the mark where the start of the drift is and on the same trajectory and drop your lines, and hopefully you hit the bottom just as the fish are starting to show on the screen. It's like landing on the parachute on the X. So got to allow for windage and all that sort of stuff. And a ship come past, the waves push you over a little bit.
Out there, you drifting past marks, or you just?
Oh, definitely drifting past marks, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So, and you go from one mark to the next. So the best thing about out there, Matt, especially on the incline, especially in that 500, 400 to 600 metre line, it's like, I'll show you the map in a sec. It's like old creek beds coming down and river beds, and ravine is constant undulating. Unfortunately snaggy, and sinkers are expensive. But part of the parcel. But if you've got £100 on, you've got a good chance of getting it off.
You're basically looking for fish, driving up, dropping on those fish, and then drifting past.
No, I'm doing my first drop away above them and trying to land on them, and then drifting along. And as I said before, by the time you get a fish on, sometimes you'll shoot past the last mark you had, and you'll get the fish up because it's taking maybe 20 minutes to get him up. And then you look back and look at the sound or whatever and see fish all over the joint. You go, because you quickly mark it again. And then you might say to one of the guys in the boat, drop your line now, even though you're going to be 7 metres past it when you drop your line to the bottom. But sometimes the fish will continue on. Yeah, and we found so many new marks or extended reef marks by doing that. Yeah. How'd you go then? Or did you go?
No.
I don't think we've done it yet, have we? Okay, you've got just those pictures, yeah? Is that right? Yeah. We'll just quickly show you some, like the drift, you'll see the drift patterns on here, and also what my marks compared to the ravines that I'm talking about, and like you say, Matt, where your marks are with your fish. Do you want us to? Yeah, please. Yeah. Sorry, Errol. Just whoever's closest there. Sorry, guys. Yeah, thanks, guys. Right at the end there, mate. Good man. Do you mind to hold it? Is that all right? Sorry, mate. We normally got a little table set up, but we forgot about it tonight. Sorry. So this is actually me moving here, drifting. Get back to the start if you can, Dave. So this is the best thing about the Navionics app. You can record your drift as well, and go back and set to your plot track, and then see, well, okay, that day I was doing this speed and I was drifting this angle, whatever. It's a no-brainer for $40. It's just ridiculous. You've got to understand it to know what you can do with it, though. Mate, just when I hit that switch, I'm stuck at that switch there. It's all happening. Here we go. Okay, good. So you want to turn that around, just the camera, mate, if you don't mind. Okay, so I'm drifting there at 2 knots roundabout. So there's a bit of current that day, and that's the pin's us moving there, and that. A 0.5 a nautical mile. I don't know if that's that distance there maybe. So it's around about a 2 mile drift. So see all that black stuff there? That's like that track I was telling you about, sort of thing. And that goes forever all the way down. And we're fishing on the edge of it just there in one spot. So I've gone down and I'm going back up for another drift. You see I'm now doing 13 knots going back up. start my drift again. This time I'm going a little bit wider for the second drift. There's a bit of current that day, you see 2.5 knots. Actually, that over there is the distance in kilometres, I think. Is that right? Oh, minutes, is it? Speed, time, sorry. So this time I've gone around, so I hate driving over what I just went over. Do a big loop around, now do a drift down the inside now probably. So now I'm doing one down the west side of it. And I have no doubt we would have caught fish this day. Otherwise I wouldn't have recorded it. But on that sediment reveal, any of these little blotchy areas, that's reef. And that's it. Yeah, so do you get where I'm coming from? So like cross-reference it, go across a bit more, until you find out where the fish are, and then you'll concentrate in that area. If you drop a couple of fish, so fish do talk, I believe, in most species. If you drop a couple of big ones, the second drift might not be as good as the first, and probably the third drift you won't get much at all. So you may need to move up to here or something like that. I think I've got some good ground just up here a bit further. And then come back here later. If the fish were there, they'll be back on the bite again. There's definitely moon bites, and there's definitely moon rising bites and stuff like that, and tide bites as well. Have you got that picture there, Dang, that one there? Okay, so these are some rocks we have out the front here. They look small there, but they're actually very, very big, but as rock size, okay? So this is what we call Riviera Grounds. It's like a boulder's landed on the earth sometime or another. Don't know what they are, but that's about probably around 4 k's long or 3 k's long, fair about that, by about 500 metres wide or k wide, and it comes up around about probably from that corner up around 120 metres high, roughly speaking. So that's quite a big rock. And the fish all around here are extremely good, especially up into the current. So the same as any other reef of fish, when you're fishing out the Barrier Reef, you always fish in the current. They'll be on that front end there. When there's no current, they'll be sometimes down that eastern side or that side over there. But you'd start your drift probably up here and work your way down. That's that track I was telling you about, the bulldozer track. That's what one of the marks we're fishing on just before on that thing. I think it was actually around here, I think. And that's a bit further up, marks. But you can see it looks like a bulldozer track, but it's actually bottom, quite aggressive bottom. This is called Jimmy's Mountain. So these two, I catch a lot of bar cod, bass groper, and blue eye. This one here is really good for blue eye. And that's Jim's Mountain, and that one comes up from about, on the outside edge, about 560, and it's about around 410 on top. So it's about 150 metre rise, which is like, how big is that? It's about a 40-storey high-rise building, I guess, in height. And it's about 2k, that one's a bit smaller, maybe 2k by about half a k to a k wide. But the fish can be all the way down to here, so we've caught fish probably in about a 6k area, north to south. So distance to there is about 52 k's, and that's about 54 k's, or 56 from the seaway. These inside grounds here, that's what I was telling you about, they're around about 48k. Okay.
When you're drifting over them, are
yes.
you lifting your...
No, I'm just trying to keep it on the bottom and back it up regardless, but you have to let it line out, Matt. Yeah, so if it goes from sort of, if you're on the top of it and it's 420 and it's going to drop down to 560, you need to let line out, yeah. So you're letting it out to hit the bottom as well as back it up a bit as well. Yeah. And when you're coming up the front of it, you get snagged up. So you've got to pull it up a bit when you get it off the bottom, pull it up a little bit.
But you basically
always want it slack. Always want it slack, mate, 100%. Yeah, just like fishing in close here. So this is down off Tweed, so it's even more undulating, like I was saying before. That area over there, I really like fishing out over there. That's very undulating. But this is in feet, guys, so that's around about sort of 260 metres, so around about, or 240 metres. That's 800, so that's around about 170 metres, or, oh no, sorry, 270 metres, sorry. 280 metres there. But once we get out here, it drops off really quick. So that distance there is only around about 2k or 3k, and we're in 1,000 metres, so it's dropped off really quick, like just off the Richter scale quick. And when you go over here, it's like 5k deep or 2k deep. So that edge, all those little ravines, is what we're drifting over. That's the stuff you want to look for. And every time you go over along here, you get caught up or you drop down a little bit in those loops, and you're on the bottom, bang bang, it's a cod or whatever it might be, blue eye. That's where Stewie got the blue eye on the jig the other day. This runs all the way down. There's a little drain down here. I've got some really good marks down here, guys. There's another mark there, another hole there. It probably drops about 40 or 80 metres. So it's quite aggressive compared to what you're seeing close out the front here. Once you get in deep water, it's a whole new world, and a lot of fish living all the way along that edge. We've got, I don't think it shows the sound, or I haven't got it in here, but quite often we'll have like 80 metres thick of fish on the bottom. I don't know what they are, but we get lots of fish. I don't know if we catch them, but I don't know if they're all the same species. But it's quite good. Yeah, so anything you see, even like that little bumps, those little bumps there, if you were to zoom in on your sounder, before we obviously had marks there, because that's a good thing about this Seamat Reveal. When it came out, a lot of my marks co-align with marks on the bottom, you know. I think, oh, well, I was fishing the reef. But then I think, oh, that spot. Wow, the spots everywhere. And I need to have longer life to be able to try them all, because weather and everything's against you. Like, I want to try that hole there, you know. There's so many spots I want to try. That's only in about 350 metres, which is perfect. Same with that one there. I've never tried that yet either. Didn't know that existed. Yeah, obviously knew that one there existed. But
so generally speaking, those holes are going to hold fish no matter what.
100%, mate. 100%, and they're everywhere out there. Yeah. So if you get that little Seamat Reveal, the card, which is $400 or whatever it is, for your GPS, or you get the app, that's off the app on the phone. So that's how good it is for $40. It's like, and you can then use that. You can actually, if you've got an iPad, you can actually put an iPad in your dash and transfer it on the iPad, and it's like looking at a sounder, and then correlate it to your GPS, and when you're out there, and start marking it all in GPS, so you don't need to spend the money in the chart. Does that all make sense, guys? Yeah? Okay, thank you. Thanks, Sam. Thanks for doing that, mate. Yeah. So,
Maybe a tip for the guys to get their navionics.
yes.
Is
Yeah, so just...
don't enter your marks on it.
Don't... yeah, okay. I'll just go a bit more on that one. So, guys, it's really important when you got the Navionics app that there's a thing called sharing. And you get other people's marks, but they get your marks.
Yes.
And a lot of people got my marks because I didn't know that from the start.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I now have two. One's my sacrifice one, and one's don't ever show anyone one. So they're both chopped out at the 5,000 marks or whatever. I can't put any more marks, so I'm not going to take photos now. Yeah. Anyhow. So that one I just leave on all the time. It's too late now. If you get access to it, you see Dougie's or whatever, you got access to it. Yeah.
One of your other seminars, you mentioned the containers north of Kent.
Oh yes.
I found them on Navionics.
You found one on Navionics? There you go. I think
Fish all over them.
Yeah, fish like. Did you catch fish?
No, the
No.
current's too strong.
Oh, current's too strong.
Pass off and-
Yeah, but at least you found them though. That's
Yeah,
good.
found them, yeah.
It's so accurate, isn't it?
Oh, insane.
And like they're only 40 foot long,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So guys, it's good.
Were they your
good.
marks, were they?
there's some of them are. On that first one, about 4 of them, I think.
The others,
No, I got about 12 on the other one.
yeah.
Yeah. So just be careful of that. But sometimes you need to share to get other people's marks, which are really good too, by the way, everywhere. Okay, getting to the deep. So these deep marks. This is where we're at the last bit of the puzzle, which is what we've just been showing you. So that's the Tweed. We call it Tweed Canyons. That last picture, okay. The same things off Point Lookout Canyons, and then you got some at the just up a bit from the bottom of Morton, and some further up at the top of Morton. Same scenario. Morton Canyons, Point Lookout Canyons, Tweed Canyons. Out the front here, we have the 3 rocks. They don't have rocks there and there. We do. So that's how it is. So 2730, that's the canyons off Point Lookout, obviously. 2744, that's Jim's Mountain. 2749 is Riviera Grounds, which is the big rock down a bit further. And 2751 and 57, there was 1 rock, 2 rock, and there's another rock out here. That's got other names, a lot of different names. People say they call after what do they want to call it, but that's that 2751 area. 2814, so we go all the way down now to Tweed. Okay, so there's a bit of a sparse space. There is grounds out the front here off the COA, but the problem is it's about a 60k run east out to them, so you might as well just go that way or that way. It's just too far out the front because there's a big bay we're in. So it goes from 2751, which is sort of half out South Stratty, to 2814, which is south of Tweed. So in between there is not much. At 2814, you're off Tweed Heads, which is where that area just before, and that goes all the way down to off Brunswick, 2836, even south of Brunswick Heads. So there's ravines all the way along there. It's just endless amounts. I did a trip last year with Masako and my wife up to. We picked up at Early Beach and we went up to Cairns, and I've had the good experience. I fishing with a mate of mine on his big game boat, and he loves deep dropping. And we just went to all these new grounds, but again we just used the chart on Navionics, and it's the same looking bottom up there all along our coastline. And everywhere we stopped, we catch big bar cod, or we catch big ruby snappers or big flame snappers. Same scenario, same style of fishing, just up north further. In 350 to 500 metres, same deal. So it's everywhere along our coastline. Just use the same experience out here, you can do it anywhere you want. Okay. Any questions, guys? Yes?
Sounders and
Yeah, okay, good question. Sounders are one of those things. Like, I had a 680 Haynes, right, and I had an old Faroon on it, and it was only 600 watts, and once I got over 300 metres, I couldn't get the bottom. So we used to just use the sonar line, so back in the day, I used to smash it, you know. And as I said, now it's so much more, you guys are so much more luckier. Or we're so much more luckier. But we just used sonar lines and just drifted along the contours and caught fish. If you don't, that's if you can't reach the bottom. But you really need a 1 kilowatt. Don't go wide frequency. Go high low, 50 kilohertz, 200 kilohertz, whatever it is. And you want to once you get about 300 meters, switch to low frequency. Or if you've got chirp, go to chirp. It's even better. You can dial it in better, but you've got to be really slow travelling when you're using the chirp, not too fast. And obviously zoom into about no more than a 50 metre wind out of the bottom when you're out in the deep. It has to be 50 metres because it's too undulating. If you're trying to do 10 or 20 metres, you're all over the joint because the rise is too quick.
So is the chirp maybe when you move a bit quicker?
No, not as good. Not as good, I find. So if we use low frequency, then when we get to the spot, we'll then dial in the chirp.
Okay.
Chirp low or whatever it might be. Yeah.
50.
50 kilohertz is good, yep, that's right. Yep, definitely. Yep. In brands, like, I'm a bit of a Simrad man because of value for money, that's what I like. Farunos are very good, they're probably the best, but they're just so hard to I drove my old sound, I couldn't work it out properly. I spent a lot of time on it and it used to drive me crazy. I just find Simrads are really good, and they're one of the only sounders that yeah, you can buy a 1 kilowatt big brick AMR transducer and a big set for sub $4,000, you know.
So you're talking the S299?
Yeah, that's what I had. I ended up putting that in my Haynes. I could be doing 20, 25 knots, 23 knots in 480 metres and zoom in 20 metres and see the bottom without one gap on it. It was incredible.
No, what he's saying.
Oh, no, it's incredible, mate. Actually, Stewie went out the 1 kilowatt.
Yeah.
So I just heard one of my mates on his Arvo. He's got two just 7-inch or 9-inch, a 9-inch.
He's just got Evos, yeah.
Yeah, Evo 9s, and same transducer as what I had though, the AMR. I think it's a B265, I think, or something like that.
Something like that,
Yeah, and I said, "Still look at this," and we're doing like 25 knots,
Yeah.
380 metres deep, and zoomed in 20 metres, and it is like the Broadwater.
It's crystal clean.
Crystal clear.
Crystal.
See the dots, see the fish.
Yeah.
AMR, yeah. Incredible.
Yeah.
But that was Simrad. I don't know. Yeah, maybe. And I use my other mates. I got fish on their boats. They've got big Garmins. They're beautiful. You know, nice, and not too hard to use, but they're expensive. You know, you're paying triple the price.
The 8-4, whatever.
Something like that, mate. Yeah, that's right. Nice set, 16-inch screens, where they are. But do you get a better picture? Maybe a little bit better, but I don't think it's much better. So you're talking 4 or 5 grand on the Simrad full setup.
So yeah, on the bottom between the NSS 12
Yep.
and the
2.9. So the 2.9 is more of a commercial style set. You can't use it. It doesn't have GPS on it.
Yeah,
Just sound only.
only.
But it's so good picture.
So
It's like the big Faruna style, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've got the original Simrads. It's got a sounder as well as the
GPS.
It's got GPS in it,
Yeah.
but they're old, like they're
Yeah, but you could use that as a GPS and just use this one dedicated as a sounder. But that's what I had in my Haynes, and I was sad the day it worked. Actually, it was such a good set.
right.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. You're welcome. Yeah.
Do you have a question? So I run the Simrad,
Mm.
and I've just bought the 5100 module, I haven't put it in yet.
Yep.
So I should be able to pick up.
Is it
in that
is it 1
situation.
kilowatt, mate?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
but I haven't got the transducer yet.
Oh,
So
okay,
I've still
right.
just got the 66 or whatever.
Yeah, okay, right.
Transducer, so I haven't
Yep.
got chirp yet.
Yeah, so you'll be able to pick up with that
So I was running
transducer.
at 50,
Yep.
but with the booster I should be able to,
I
until I get the transducer.
I think you'd be out to 300 metres pretty well easy.
Yeah.
They're a very good set for what they do. So, but once you get to 1 kilowatt, you'll fry it. Yeah.
So what does the 1 kilowatt start running out?
About 700 to 800 metres.
It depends on which 1 kilowatt you got.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. If you got the low high,
I've got the B175.
175, yeah.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be able to get us all 50.
That's the wide one, right?
No, it's also, it's chirp, yeah, but
Yeah.
it's also, yeah.
Yeah.
Skin
I think it's all-
50 decibel.
Yeah. So yeah, you should be able to get out to about 400
Yeah, that's
easy.
what
I think. Yeah,
expect,
yeah.
So on that, you'd go, because I'm looking at transducers at the moment,
Mm.
so the 265 is a narrower beam than the
It's a narrow beam.
275 is a high beam, like, I'm sorry, a
Yeah,
wider beam.
wide. Yeah, don't go to wide. The wide's good for marlin trolling and that, but not that good if you're going to do this sort of stuff.
Don't they make an MR 275 high, low and wide?
Not yet. Don't think so. Oh, there's a new.
The 275
there-
is one I've seen
So-
advertisers giving a wide coverage,
Yeah.
Yeah.
whereas the 265 is a couple $100 cheaper, and it's a narrower.
Yeah.
There is the 275 LHW now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. It runs 12 elements or something. They said it's got
Yeah.
different elements
So
in it.
that's the one I was sort of looking at.
Are you right, matey? Oh, go for it, buddy. Yeah, go for it, matey. Sorry. Sorry. What is that?
Or
Yeah, you're right. Sound is going forever and ever, but you just want one that's got a strong beam and
so
narrow.
for the transducer, you
Yeah.
go one that shoots.
I had 265 and I loved it. Yeah, it was fantastic. But whatever you go, yeah. And I use it for marlin fishing too. Still sort of bait. Just maybe it's a bit more narrow.
Yeah.
Not that way. Yeah. Okay. So we're getting to add to that a little bit.
So I think that's about it, really. Yeah.
So is there any questions, guys? Like anything you want to know about anything for fishing? No, all good.
We talk all night, but
Yeah, I know it goes on and on, doesn't it?
a lot
But,
of background.
No, everyone's got to go to bed and go to sleep.
Oh, sorry,
Uh,
you mentioned,
yes.
someone mentioned tailor fillets.
A tail fillet's a good way. You've got to salt them.
Give us some.
Yeah,
Because
put-
they're quite soft.
Yeah, put a bit of salt on the flesh side.
Alright.
Yeah.
Or, any like mac tuna and stuff.
Yeah, mac tuna is good too, but scallop out the meat.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's just,
so you got
yeah,
that
like
bit.
thumb thickness, whatever it might be.
Instead of buying mullet.
Yeah, you want your hook to be a little bit exposed, sort of thing. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, guys, thank you. Thanks for coming along tonight. So, guys, anything on, if your Untitled electric outfit, will do better than anything online, okay? Just let you know that. Not much, but a bit better. And we'll rig it all up for you. And anything gear that we talked about tonight, including the lures, it's all 30% off for a little while, okay? A couple of weeks. Okay, I'm going to do this, Stewie. First prize is that, but inside there's a fair bit of gear inside of it. And it's about $300 worth. That could be old mate that went to the toilet, but there we go.
It is number. I always pick pretty low numbers. Number
You do.
1.
Oh, Stewie, you're incredible, mate. I'll tell you. Sam?
Yeah, mate.
Oh, Sam's there. How you going, Sam?
Hey, good, mate.
Yeah, good,
Cheers
mate.
for that, mate.
That's yours, buddy.
Yeah,
Cheers,
good
mate.
on you.
Okay, number 2 is about $200 for the gear. I'll draw this one, Stu. I'll try and draw one down the back of the crowd, mate. Goes from one extreme to the other. 17. Well done, Errol. I'll pass it down to you, mate. Would you mind passing it back, gentlemen? Thanks, Errol.
Thank you, mate.
You're welcome, mate. Good on you. Okay, number 3, I think still around nearly $150 worth, $140 worth. Misako, yours, though. Always got to thank Misako. She works hard too for doing these seminars. The behind the scenes work. Okay. Oh, in between. 10. So we've got Matt. Oh, Matty.
Yeah.
Well done, buddy. You want to pass that down, my friend? Thanks, mate. You're a gentleman. So, guys, just so you know, before we go any further, our next seminar is on whiting fishing. So it's something different, left field. So you guys in a pretty extreme deep drop into whiting fishing. On that one, we cover obviously bait fishing, but a little bit on lures as well. And then the one after that is mangrove jacks. We're trying to get Johnny, the jack guy, to come on that one. He does it with us normally. And then we normally don't run it till mid to late November. We do dolphin fish, but we're going to bring it all the way forward to early November because they're ready on. So they're big ones. That's right. Stewie, back of the front row, mate. Maybe.
Number 11.
Oh, well, that's good. Middle row. Russell. Yeah, well done, buddy. I think it's still around $100 worth. Just be careful, my friend. Thank you. Okay, next one. Me. So we've got 6 prizes tonight, guys. The last one's still worth $40, $50. It's amazing on the row. 12, Ben. Well done, Benny. Cheers, mate.
Thank you.
And the last one, Misako. Thank you. Oops, no, I put 12 back in there. Double dip. Thank you. Thanks, sir. Guys, thanks for coming along. Drive back safely. We're open for about another 40 minutes. But if you want to watch Stuart do the crimping, we'll do that straight up first, okay? Just in the game section, which is where we do the spill the line on down there. It's right down the back again. Sorry, guys, the front row. Sorry, matey. It's number 16, which is Anthony. Well done, buddy. I'll just leave it here for you, mate. Is that all right? I'll pass it down to you. Thanks, sir. Okay, guys, thanks for coming along. And good luck out there. Just be careful, like I said. 10 knots, under a metre and a half. You'll be fine. Pleasure, mate. Thanks a lot. Nice to meet you, too. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, nice to meet you, mate.
Have a safe drive back. And put those marks into your GPS, mate.